everybody.
Hi.
We're coming live from Vancouver Island, and we thought we would tell of our journey yesterday.
OMG.
Just kidding.
It was exciting.
Yeah,
That's
it
what
was.
I'm going to say.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it sure
it was
was.
really cool.
So
cool.
So we went through a tour through Craig Derrick Castle here in Victoria, and I'd been there 4 times previously. And how many times have you been there?
I've been there twice, but the last time was about 7 years ago.
Yeah, me too. And even the last time was during Halloween. I was like, we went, and watched a play being in the, performed in there. Anyway, so we were thinking, okay, we're probably going to have some kind of low-lying kind of, what's the wording? Denser energy in there, because the structure is so old. Built in, I think it was
early 1800s, like about 1830.
They actually came. The Dunsmuirs came to Vancouver Island in the early 1800s, 1837, I think it was.
Yeah.
And they started at the north end of the island, and they made their way down. So the castle, if you want to call it that, was built more around, I think it was the 1860s. It was about 30 years in between the difference. And so they were very wealthy because they had a coal mine up north in the next town north of us in Duncan. So they were, digging a lot of coal, and it was a good time back then. So Mr. Dunsmuir didn't make it before the castle was built. And so his wife took on the family business and the castle and all of the children that they had, which was quite a few. And so fast forward to today. What does any of this mean? So basically, we were expecting, we've been through a tour of the castle before, and it's an older building, it's an older structure. But what happened yesterday was a little bit different than what we were expecting.
Quite different.
Yeah.
I wasn't really sure what to expect because it was a really old structure. I knew there was, going to be some energy kind of like in the wood, in the building itself. Just how like old houses kind of collect a vibe. That's all I was thinking would happen. But we got a surprise.
Multiple times over.
Lots of surprises.
Lots of surprises.
It was a really cool comparison to see the difference from like when I'd last been there 7 years ago to now.
So what's the difference from 7 years ago to now? It's not the structure. The structure hasn't changed. The energy, I don't think, has changed very.
Nope.
It's always been there.
Us.
It's all us changing. So what's changed with us?
We've just opened up a lot more, because I remember when I was last there 7 years ago, going in there, and I definitely felt a heaviness, but I was still able to tune it out and focus on the event that I was there for. Whereas this time, it was so much more in our faces, where we'd go towards certain rooms and then be like, nope, we can't actually go in there, just because it was so strong. And just in that heaviness, it was all just curious energy and or busy energy that were going about doing their own thing, or even just residual energy left over on the clothing or the wood, which I found was really fascinating to be able to pick it up. But it's just that we were so much more open that we noticed that difference between the different frequencies, basically.
I mean, by the last quarter of the tour through there, which is self-guided, it's just the 3 of us going room to room, and it was amazing, like beautiful. But I was ready for the exit, like time to get out. Where's the door for the sunshine? Let's get out of here.
I think by the time we got to I think it was the 3rd level where the piano was. I was really exhausted.
Tired.
I kept noticing just a lot of energy, and then Alyssa played the piano that was there. And it was really beautiful, and we're going to share some of that in this video, so definitely stay for that. And we noticed a huge difference between before she played the piano,
Mhm.
during, and then immediately after she stopped
It was
playing the
huge
piano.
difference.
Mhm.
It was like a breath of fresh
Oh
air.
God. The
Yeah.
heaviness dropped by about, I would say, 70-80%.
Yeah.
Like it neutralized the energy in the space, if you want to say it like that, or if you want to say the energy in the space was really happy that the piano was getting
Yeah.
played.
Well, what I find really interesting is kind of coming at it from my perspective of sitting down and playing music. And anytime that I play the piano, I'm very in tune with what's my energy like, what's the energy that I want to project into the keys that then becomes the music.
Yeah.
And this particular piece that I had chosen as
Beautiful.
well, it's a piece by Debussy, and it's very soothing. It's
Very.
always given me pictures of the ocean, and that's what I was imagining as I was playing it. I was just feeling the calmness of the ocean waves coming in and out. And so it was really fascinating to then see how what energy I was putting into the music actually impacted the energy in its space, in that space as well. So fascinating.
And everybody loved watching her play. About 30 people were hanging around, and we'll put a piece of the music at the very end of this video and some pictures of the castle as well, inside the castle. And they call it a castle. You know, it's a beautiful
like a
home.
manor.
It's a manor. Yeah, it's a beautiful space. But we definitely noticed a lot of energy coming from the clothing pieces on the mannequins that were on display. We noticed energy coming from just a dispersed energy throughout the room. I think the energy, residual energy within the woodwork. But then there were some rooms we went into that where the energy was so strong and it was coming from a very distinct, direct place. And then we decided, okay, let's hang out and just see who's here. We definitely noticed females.
Yeah,
I don't
quite
think
a
I
few.
noticed one male,
No.
at least not that I was noticing. It was so palpable. It was making us very dizzy, a bit nauseous, and it was just really like really coming at us.
It was like waves
Yeah.
going right into you so much where you were like, okay, I do actually have to physically step back so that this energy doesn't hit me.
Into our chakra centers.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a scary feeling. It
No.
wasn't like super uncomfortable outside of just kind of how energy kind of was making us feel. But yeah, it was very female, feminine energy in a lot of the rooms. There was a maid that kind of popped in,
That
and
was really
Kristin,
cool.
channeled her. She was just visiting, and she was just happy to see us, and she waved at us, and she was just really cute.
I asked
super
her,
cute,
I said,
nice.
are you living here or are you visiting? She's like, I'm visiting. She smiled and waved. And then we had a few other rooms where I believe it were the daughters just at their bureau brushing their hair, or like in a loop, just like in a loop. You know, not really paying too much attention to us, but just kind of, you know. So I think the lesson here, there's a couple that I've learned, which is one is just because you sense heavier type frequency doesn't mean that that frequency even knows that you exist, because it may just be going about its loop, if you want to call it that, its motion. It's not there to bother anyone or be a detriment in any way. It's just the frequency that was back then versus now. And the second thing we've learned is just how different the frequency is on the planet now. Is higher. So when you go into a space like this, you're picking up on the difference of the different frequencies. That's all it is. It's just a different frequency. And so that's really something that's really important, I think, to notice, is that if you sense something in your home, it doesn't necessarily mean that it is, out to get you or to bother you in any way. And to really examine, what is that energy doing there? And, then you can have a better idea. And it may also show that you yourself are shifting in a very high vibrational direction. So there's more of a gap, right, between your frequency and this energy. Therefore, you really feel the difference.
Yeah, that was really surprising to me.
Yeah.
Being in a space that I'm not familiar with at all, and I'm just visiting here, it's been pretty eye-opening seeing how, in my hometown where I'm working, living from day to day, I don't notice a lot of the differences, I guess. But when I'm here, I'm in a completely new environment, I'm really noticing, oh, I'm picking up on that energy, or I'm sensing this frequency over here that I'm not familiar with. And it's really showing how much I've opened up and how much our frequencies have risen. Even just in the last few months, it's been crazy. So
we really had to go down to the beach after that and like ground ourselves because, and just help the earth, lift our frequency again, because it was, it wasn't anything to be scared of or anything like that. It's just that we just wanted to feel more grounded in our vessels and feel more at ease.
Yeah, and I think that's a really amazing thing, just to acknowledge the fact that we've gotten to this place, and 100 years ago, the frequency was way over
Different.
down there and totally different, and now we're here, and that gets me excited for what's coming and how much more it's going to change.
What's it going to be like in 1 year? What's it going to be like in 10 years? What's it going to be like in 20 years? And I think a lot of people on the planet are going to be, lifting and raising in vibrational frequency, and they're going to be sensing the energy around them. And I just love to talk about sensing the frequency around you, because if you think that we're the only ones here, think again. There's energy everywhere, all around us, and we just pick up on that frequency that's around us, and it's really cool to know who is around you and the different frequencies that are here.
Yeah, it really, really is. And like, no matter where you are at with sensing the energy, like kind of going back to how I was 7 years ago, I was still able to walk into that castle and I could feel a dramatic difference from outside versus inside. Like, I wasn't near as open as now, but there's still that feeling of, okay, this is older and it's got energies in it, but I wasn't picking them up and being able to differentiate them and identify them to the same degree that I can now.
So it's cool when you can walk into a structure and you can see who's there and what are they doing there. Are they visiting? Are they living there? Do they even notice you? Like, there are a lot of factors involved, and not just because something's a little bit heavier in vibration doesn't necessarily mean it's there for any harm or any ill will of any kind. So
it's just where they were at.
Yeah.
For that particular time.
That was their frequency, and they're in that loop, or that residual energy is just there in that fabric or in that that woodwork.
Yeah, I was gonna say, on the residual energy piece, the head maid's room was it was definitely just residual, because it was like industrious energy. She, was a hard worker. You could easily tell that, but I didn't feel her there, her spirit or an energy there. It was just kind of the air of the space. And so that was really interesting.
And it was kind of a rush type feeling up and down the stairwells, which is what they would have done back and forth, up and down the stairwell. And then the other element to it is this space, this castle at one point used to be a college.
So boys' school. So there was a lot of the kind of busyness of boys in school, and like almost that feeling of chatter and
rushing around,
strictness. And,
It was interesting layers of. It was like walking through time.
It really was.
It really was.
You could really sense in one of the rooms the hospital period, because there was during the war. It was a hospital as well, or World War II. So it was like a. What do they call it? A convalescent home where they were resting, and they were, in the bedrooms, they were transferred into like I didn't just
Rest
rooms for
full of
people
different
who are
cots and whatnot.
yeah, exactly. And that was really interesting to
Yeah.
see. Like next door, you felt like that school vibe. And then the next room, it was like a hospital vibe. It was
Mhm.
really,
Yeah, and then you
really
go right back to
interesting.
the Dunsmuirs and
Yeah.
their bureau with like all of their bedroom things and their parlor.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was fascinating. And, you know, so what do you do when you're going through a space and it's the frequency is a bit heavier and it might be uncomfortable for you? What do you do?
I asked my team to kind of create a barrier and clean out anything that really wasn't my energy or for me. So I asked them to kind of create a little bubble around me.
I did the same thing.
Yeah.
I was like, Agnes, you want to take care of this? I don't want to feel it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she immediately buffered it for me. She put up that buffer.
Yeah, it's just getting a nice bubble around yourself.
And then
Yeah,
afterwards,
it does.
we were chatting with Archangel Michael, and he says, "Oh, it wasn't that bad."
Yeah.
And he just laughed, like he's like, "It wasn't that bad." And I think we
Yeah.
were just taken off guard, like we weren't
We were just
expecting that.
surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And we're just like do, you know, and then we were like, oh, there was just such
Yeah.
a difference
Mhm.
of vibrational frequency. It was more notable, but it wasn't anything to be, you know. He was just laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. He's still laughing.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
over there just kind of like, oh my gosh.
But yeah, so it's fascinating as we move along on this path of awakening and then ascension on the planet and anchoring all of this light. What's going to happen with everybody and the experiences that we're going to be having? This is just one, I'm sure, of many to come.
Yeah, and I'd be curious if any of you
Yes.
watching this have had similar experiences like this where you've noticed a difference from how you were a couple months ago or maybe years
Totally.
ago to how you are now.
And if you walk into a space and do you notice, you know, any shifts and changes? And what do you do if you're uncomfortable, if the frequency around you is a little heavier and uncomfortable for you? What do you do? You know, so I'm just going to see if Archangel Michael wants to say anything. He's cracking one. He's like, you can always call on me. He's doing like as if he's wearing a shirt. So you can call on him anytime. It's just a difference of vibrational frequency, my children. Just a difference of vibrational frequency. Thank you, dear ones. Thank you. I love it. Okay, you guys, stay tuned for some beautiful piano playing and some wonderful pictures of the castle, and we will see you mañana.
Bye.
Bye.